How's everybody doing?
Doing all right, Coach.
Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate all you guys' work all spring. Obviously, you guys got a chance to see today a small portion of where we are. I think, you know, when you really look at it and you don't look at who was making what play, when you really look at it, the same things that we talked about all spring is, you know, consistency and execution. You know, when we were able to execute consistently, we rolled pretty good. There were some times there where whether it was penalty, missed block, snap, drop ball, missed coverage, whatever it may be on either side of the ball, where, again, the consistency in our approach, the consistency in our execution showed up. But I do think if you got a chance to see, we had some multiple guys making some plays defensively, did some really good things. You know, I think it's a little bit of as the head coach, you get into we should have scored. Well, the defense is really good. So I think what you got a chance to see is our defensive line did a really good job today, creating some pressure, you know, early in the game. I did think as the game went on, the offense kind of settled down. I talked to you guys a week or so ago about why, to me, a spring game is important. I think, you know, these guys got in the arena and there was a little bit of juice and jitters and anxiety. And I think as the day went on, they kind of settled in. So that really helped. That really is going to help us moving forward so we can kind of fall back on these experiences and what do they need to do earlier in the week, earlier in the day to prepare so they can eliminate those early jitters. I think when you look back, I think obviously talking each side of the ball, I think Grant did some really good things today. Limited package. You know, we had 4 runs and 5 passes that Coach Cramsey was able to call. And I think Grant handled it well. You know, standing down there on the field behind those guys, you could hear him kind of being a leader, talking to guys, reminding guys of situations, reminding guys of possible coverage looks. So I think he did a really good job. I think the wideouts, even though we held some of them a little bit in the second half, did some good things. Stone showed some skills there in the second half. A young man that I've been grinding on since I got here because he's got all the talent in the world. Just got to be consistent, and that was Shadeed. I think he made some really good plays today. You got a chance to see his skill set flash a little bit. Stone, again, flash some consistency, some plays. Consistency is the deal. Got to continue to do that. And I think running back-wise, you got a chance to see all 3 of those guys have got some talent. But, again, being in the arena, you know, there's that gap where not playing last year a lot, after the 3rd play, you're breathing a little bit hard. Your focus gets a little bit lax. I think Ali did some good things, but probably dropped, you know, probably 60, 70 yards worth of passes, just, you know, with wide open shots there. He's got to learn from that. I think he'll bounce back. But you did see him sometimes be able to run strong, get vertical, get downfield. He is a big, strong running back, physical guy. I think Pop and Knowledge did some really good things on the other side. O-line wise, we were down a few guys we held, a few guys were out, nothing, you know, year long or anything, but a few guys we held, and it gave the young guys the opportunity, you know, and those guys are going to be able to look back on this and say, hey, I had an opportunity as a 2 or a 3 to go against the first defense. And how did you perform? How consistent were you? I think that's what you got to look at. We moved a couple guys. We played dump truck at center. It's probably the first time we started that last week. Probably the first time he's played center. Yeah, I call him dump truck. Madden, we played him at center a little bit, just trying to create some depth. And I know you guys are probably thinking, oh, well, Coach Huff was, you know, wanted the spring game to be 1,000 points to 0. And I didn't. I wanted to put guys in position where their comfort level was removed and they were forced to fall back on their fundamentals and techniques. And I think as the day went on, you got a chance to see that. Defensively, obviously, our defensive line is really active. You know, Jamari, one of the better D linemen in this league, made some really good plays. We've been harping on our guys kind of all spring about pressing, getting our hands up in the pass lane. You saw some passes get knocked down today. Again, limited defensive. We didn't really slant. We didn't really twist. We didn't really pressure any, obviously, today. But I think once you add those elements and with the fundamentals and techniques and the athleticism that group has, you got a chance to see some really good things. So, again, thank you guys for a heck of a spring, and I'll open up the questions. I'll just start. My screen goes left to right. Tom Bragg.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yep, I got you, buddy.
I was wondering, can you expand a little bit, be a little more specific with what you saw out of Grant Wells today? I mean, we see what we see on the field. You mentioned coming along as a leader. Just where are you at with him on at the big picture right now?
Yeah, I think the thing you saw, and I can't speak for last year, you probably saw in the first half or first quarter, whatever you want to look at it, he was probably a little bit juiced, a little energy, a little jittery. Obviously with some different O linemen in there, not the group that he's used to for the last 13 or so practices. But what I think, if you look, what you really saw is he settled down big time in the second half and was able to make some plays, and that's what you want from your quarterback and your leader, and with a limited play selection, there were probably some things that we could have done if we were truly game planning that would have gave him the ability to get the ball out quicker. We would have ran the ball a little more. I didn't want to turn it into mud ball where all of a sudden we got linemen getting mudded up. So I limited the runs, the amount of runs that they could run as far as how many times. But I do think what you saw Grant able to do is kind of settle down and take control of the troops. I think for the first time all spring, I probably saw him smile towards the end of the second half, which was good. I didn't think he liked me when I first got here, but I think we're okay now. But no, I think what you saw is what you see from a true leader. A true leader is able to kind of settle in and start to get into a rhythm. And that's what I think he did as the day went on. Grant, you're next on my screen. Sorry.
You mentioned Shadid, and he's somebody that you've been on, and he showed flashes, last year whenever he came in certain situations when guys were down. You look at having Willie, having Brock, having guys with experience down, and was this spring really pivotal for him to sort of take that next step in his career?
Yeah, I think so. We were running off the field, and one of the defensive guys said, "Coach, all that yelling at Shadid made him play better today." And it's not yelling. I tell those guys, I am trying to get you to the player you can be. And Shadid has been phenomenal. He's worked his tail off. But what you saw today is kind of what we saw throughout the spring. There were some very explosive plays. He's got an unbelievable skill set. He's got good twitch, good body and balance control. He's fast. But the consistency, and I think you guys haven't seen it, but I got a chance to see him grow as a wide receiver, but more importantly, he grew as a competitor. There were some balls earlier in spring where he would just kind of jump, and if it didn't catch it, didn't catch it. And as the spring went on, he started fighting. And I think you saw a little bit of that today. He started fighting for an extra yard. He started fighting for position. And I think that's what he's going to have to do. Corey goes down, with a hamstring, tug there. He's going to be fine, but he went down. So now we got to have those guys step up, So to me, this game was bigger than just the game. It was a great example of what we're going to have to do throughout the season to get to where we want to be. Justin?
Coach, quick question for you. When you saw Corey Gamage go down, I know this is a game you don't want to have injuries, but what do you know about him just after that play?
Yeah, he just tweaked his hamstring. I went over to him and I told him, I said, what'd you do? He said, I tweaked my hamstring. I said, well, you got to be running fast to tweak your hamstring. How'd that happen? But no, he was fine. He just tweaked it a little bit. We probably could have warmed him back up and put him back in. But I didn't think, at this point in the spring and where we're trying to go, it gave an opportunity for those other guys to play a few more reps. But he was in the locker room, jumping around there at the end. We did our herd jacks. And so he's good. He's good. He'll be fine.
Is this kind of what you thought you envisioned when you invited everyone here to watch you guys for the spring game? Is this exactly how you drew this up?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would have loved it to be a little cleaner. I thought we probably had, a few penalties there that were kind of sloppy penalties. But as overall, it wasn't about how many points we were going to score or how many balls we were going to throw over 50 yards or how many times we were going to run the ball. It was a good opportunity for us to kind of get back to some type of normal. That was my goal. Normal for the players, get into the stadium with fans, normal for the fans to get back in the zone, to get back out and kind of get back into what we know is normal, and for me, it was an opportunity to get the Marshall family back together. We could have did this in the indoor and the situations that we got a chance to work at the end of the game, we could have done. But for me, it was an opportunity to get in the arena with fans, give the fans an opportunity to come back to Marshall, get kind of back in their normal, and for our players to operate in the arena. It's different when Coach Huff is just in the, in the indoor yelling, and it's different when there's a couple thousand fans there. And I think you got a chance to see that early in the game. Some guys had the big eyes and it was like, wow, it's a game. It was like, yeah, wake up. And as the game went on, I think they settled in.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. I think Chuck's next on my screen.
I'll hop in. Coach, that green blazer looks sharp. Is that a spring game special, or are we going to see that in the fall too?
No, that's a spring game special, man. I didn't want to be on a team because I didn't want one team to think I was coaching for the other team. And one of the tailors here in the Charleston area, Tony the tailor, came in and said he'd get me straight, and he did. He did a phenomenal job.
Other one I got looked like Punting, left a lot to be desired out there today. Just where are you at with that, and how do you go forward at that position right now?
Yeah, I think today was exactly what you try to get seen in the special teams game. We didn't need to see anybody block and tackle. That's what we see every day on offense and defense. But for those kickers and specialists to get in the arena and have to operate, and I think that's what happens. A lot of times those guys are on the side. A lot of those times those guys are kind of, towards the middle of practice, 5 minutes, they may not kick as many balls. And I think today we got a chance to see. Again, you get in the arena, anxiety goes up. You got to be able to execute. Hopefully they can learn from that. I know our freshman, obviously this is a little bit new for him, but I think it's a great opportunity, and that's something we got to continue to get better at. Obviously it was not what we wanted, from an execution standpoint, but I do think it was a good learning example for those guys of how you got to execute in the moment.
Yeah, Coach, jumping to you really quick. I mean, you mentioned that D-line, how strong they were. You mentioned Jamari Edwards, but Emmanuel Bush, TJ Johnson, it seemed like those guys were living in the backfield today. That interior, how solid have they been this spring, and how excited are you for that group to get in the face of quarterbacks this fall?
Yeah, it's been a really good group, and they kind of feed off of each other, and I'm excited to actually get them all on the same sideline, because now you're taking, instead of rotating 5 guys or 6 guys, you're rotating 8 or 9. And how much better can we be when they're fresh and guys are in certain situations? But it's been a common theme this spring. Our O-line has gotten better because of our D-line. I think those guys have done a really good job of competing. I would probably say from a consistency standpoint, they've been really good. That's kind of been the mode of all spring. They've been making some plays, and it's been multiple guys. That's what you look for, not just one guy who's, making a lot of plays. It's been multiple guys, which is good. It gives me a lot of confidence that we'll be a good defensive front, which you got to start stopping the run.
One more. You ever been in a scenario where you're coaching some third-year freshmen? I mean, it just seems like we're looking up and down the roster and we're like, what the heck is this, man?
Yeah, I could tell today when in the first half, when I looked out there and figured out how many freshmen we had, and I look over on the sideline and Millette's got his sunglasses on and he's smiling at me, have the seniors over there with him. And it was a good moment for me to kind of not lose my mind and realize, hey, 3 of those guys right there probably were hanging out on the sideline all of last year, not really getting the game experience. So this is new for them. So it was really good for me and them.
As you look moving forward, and I'll give way to everybody else after this, but you look moving forward with the rules passed in the NCAA this week as far as one-time transfer rules, and I know that there's a lot of roster management coming up. How soon do you want decisions to be made as far as what you're going to do with the roster moving into the fall and when the guys come back in May and June?
Yeah, I'm going to start on that tomorrow, and we'll be very aggressive with. I like to use the word improving our roster. We'll be very aggressive with that mindset, and that does not mean that we're going out and getting 17 different transfers or signing 15 more high school guys. It's putting our roster in-house and in recruiting in a position for us to be successful. We probably did some things this spring, take the O-line, moving some guys around, playing them at different positions. Well, we're really going to sit down and say, okay, hey, where does this guy play? And that's the seat he's going to be in moving forward. And that will allow him to get some consistency. We were able to move some guys around positionally on offense and defense. Some guys, Naj played some safety, he played some star, he played some linebacker. Okay, where is he most helpful to us? Okay, where's the next guy? And I think that's where you got to start before you start saying, okay, well, who are we adding? Are we taking a transfer? Are we taking another high school guy? We got to find out who can own the seats on the team we have right now and then move forward from there.
All right,
And
Coach. Coach, what's next? What do you guys do now?
Yeah, for us, this is a big switch from. So our players have not been able to go home due to COVID for it's about a year, since all of them have really been able to take some time and go home. Obviously, some of them have been able to get home because they're close, but we're going to send our guys home for the month of May and give them time to kind of recharge. And what we're going to do as coaches in that month is we're going to attack this recruiting, with the new rules that are coming in. We're going to attack this recruiting from a recruiting standpoint of getting to know all of these recruits that are in the area, figuring out when they're going to get here to campus, figuring out when we're going to get them in camp. Then we're going to start, throughout the month of May, we'll go back and we'll do all our spring cut-ups and clean up. Okay, what plays can we really run efficiently? Both offense, defense, special teams. Then we're going to start breaking down our opponents. We'll start going through the schedule and getting a pre-breakdown. So when our guys come back in June, we've already got spring cut-ups and corrections ready for them. We've already got some pre-season work on our opponents so they can start thinking about that. And then obviously, as we move deeper into it, we'll be able to get into the recruiting and camps and all that in June.
you mentioned the sense of normalcy, and how good was it to see some guys, on unofficial visits here and sort of take that next step in recruiting today, simply because it seems like recruiting sort of spun its wheels for the last year, 13 months or so.
Yeah, I think it was great. Anytime, Marshall kind of sells itself. It's one of those places where you go, you fall in love with it, you kind of feel at home. And I think it was great to have as many fans, visitors, alumni back in some type of normal. These kids and these alumni, these fans, they've been watching football on TV for a long time. And it starts to look like John Madden after a while. And it was good for everybody to kind of get back out and be around each other. And there are a lot of things we got to get cleaned up on the field. We'll handle that. That's not a big issue to me. But I do think this was kind of the start to what we may know as normal moving forward. Anybody else?
I'm good, Coach. Everybody good?
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you guys. I plan on getting with Jason, and we'll do a couple dates in May where we can get you guys on with some of the players. Once they do get back here on campus, and allow you guys to kind of touch base with them. One by one request deal, and in that way you guys can kind of start to get a relationship with them moving forward through the summer into the season. So thank you guys again, man. I really appreciate it, and go Herd.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.